I'll start. I'm George Lewis. I'm a composer and improviser and a musicologist. And I've been working for about 45 years on generative AI in my own way for music. And that's what I'm doing here at Ircam. We premiered a piece here in 1984 with Joel Leandro, who will be performing tonight, and also with Mia Masaoka. And I'm thrilled, to be honest, to be working with this amazing team who you're going to find out about next, I guess.
I'm Damon Holsborn. I'm a musician and software developer. I create software primarily for interactive and improvised music. I've been working with George on his interactive programs for about 20 years, as well as doing for my own work.
Hello, I'm Marco Fiorini. I'm a musician, improviser, and researcher here in the music representation team at Ircam. And over the last 3 years and a half, I've been working on the SOMAX 2 co-creative system for improvisation with human and virtual improvisations using our approach to co-creative AI systems. Yeah, tonight we're gonna hear something new, which is a new system we've been working on together with the team, and I'm very much looking forward to it.
I'm Gérard Assayag, a senior researcher at Ircam. I created the music representation team a few years ago. We've been interested in helping the composers, the performers, and the improvisers with digital intelligence tools. First with open music, software for composition, and then a series of software dedicated to the stage and the live music software that are able to listen to musicians and to improvise along with musicians, what we call co-creative AI. I founded the Improtech concept with Marc Chemillier in 2012 in New York as a kind of workshop, international workshop and festival on improvisation and digital intelligence. So it was a place where people, artists, musicians, researchers, engineers could gather and exchange and perform and create art related to the idea that musicians can interact with machines in a way that is satisfying for them and that is exciting and stimulating. And since then we've had a series of editions of Improtech, not regularly, in different cities in the world. And I'm particularly thrilled with this edition at Ircam because it's the first time Improtech lands at Ircam, where the idea was born years ago. So the concept itself has evolved from pure improvisation to all sorts of scenarios, including what we call in French écriture, which is music writing, which is composition when you have a plan. So it's not contradictory to have a plan and still be totally free and improvise. So this edition, particularly the concert in this edition, will show many pieces where the concept of writing and planning and the concept of totally free improvisation intermingle. And since we have the beautiful Ircam concert hall called Espace de projection space, equipped with dozens of loudspeakers and spatialization systems, I could say that this edition is dedicated to the synthesis between writing and improvisation, but also the synthesis between playing on stage and having the sound as immersion, having immersive sound. And also there's a third synthesis or dialectic, if you want, between the idea of playing as an ensemble and playing as a solo performer interacting with a single machine.
Well, maybe let me say something from I was at the first Improtech. which also involves scholarship as well. So I wrote an article which was published in one of the Oxford handbooks, which was called "Why Do We Want Our Machines to Improvise?" which I think is a crucial question facing anyone who wants to work in interactive systems and AI, because at this time, at 2012, this was before the heyday of interactive AI, the generative AI systems we have today. And the thing you have to remember about what Gerard and Marco and Jerome Nika and the whole history of Improtech, the thing you have to remember about is that these are really among the only systems that really do improvise creatively with other musicians in a kind of an independent way. There's co-creation between the human and the machine on many different levels. This is something that's been spearheaded here, and this is why it's an exciting moment to see the culmination of it here, as he said, in the city, in the institution where it was all born. Around about 1984, I made a piece here called Rainbow Family, which I think was the first piece of its kind performed here. The piece we're doing today is called Nomadologies, and it's an obvious homage to Deleuze and Guattari, Nomadology, the war machine, and the idea of the nomad as being an improvisative individual, nomadism being a way of improvising, a way of foraging. And so I started to think about improvisation of this kind with machines as far back as 1979, with the pieces which had the name Chamber Music for Humans and Non-Humans. And by the time I got to Ircam around 1982, when Pierre Boulez was still around, and also the wonderful David Wessel, who we should all remember, I started to work on systems that would be independent, as I've always wanted to do only one thing. I wanted to hear the machines play with the musicians. I wanted them to be independent, and I wanted them to sort of be able to communicate, to find out about the nature of communication, because this helps us find out more about what even the early AI researchers were into, like people like Marvin Minsky or Terry Winograd, it's Roger Schenck. It was all about what it meant to be human. It wasn't all about replacing machines, replacing people with machines. We're still not doing that. The idea, it's a humanistic enterprise we're involved with. So Nomadologies, the very simple form. There are two of the greatest musicians of their time, Joël Leandre, the bassist, who actually performed at the 1984 concert, and Mia Masaoka playing the koto, who also does things with sound art, electronics, and like body art and all kinds of things. So she'll be playing the koto, and there are two pianos. I became a Yamaha artist a few years ago, so we're using Yamaha disc lures. But in fact, I'm not a piano player, so actually the machine called Voyager is actually the Yamaha artist. So that was probably the first time they've ever had a virtual machine as a Yamaha artist. But what happens is that, very simply, they improvise together. The piano playing computers listen to what the human people are doing, and they make an exchange. And that exchange is something that we can hear and we can empathize with, we can understand, we can think about it and say, well, I find people look at these things, they say, I wonder what I would do if I was playing with this machine. Or I wonder if I was playing instead of the machine, what would I do? And so these kinds of questions of empathy and bringing people together so that we're in a kind of a cyborg space already. So that's what the piece is about, and so in a nutshell. And maybe there's more to say about it because we're using some new techniques developed by Damon Holzborn and Marco Fiorini, and maybe you'd like to talk about those.
We have two cycles which are kind of closing today. The first cycle is Improtech landing at Ircam after having been conceptualized years ago in this place. And the other big cycle is that I met George at Ircam in the early 80s. At the time, he was designing the Rainbow Family and the Voyager. And of course, I was at this time a student, traveling here, and of course I was totally impressed, and it has a great influence on what I did later. And in today's concert, George's piece is again performed by Joël Léandre, as it was the case for Rainbow Family with Mia Masaoka. And George's System Voyager is also articulated with Somax, the improvising system that were designed in my team, in a kind of super personality where the two are integrated or in a kind of dialogue. So it's another big cycle, which is kind of having hit its conclusion today, and it's also a new departure for us all.
We made a name for it. Somax, Voyager, Sovo. So it's the Sovo system which we all conceived together, which is doing the music tonight.
One thing that for me has been so interesting about this particular collaboration is I've been working with George for a long time on Voyager, so I understand it very well. And of course, Somax is new to me. And what's interesting is that they both are interactive computer music systems, but they both hear and create in completely different ways.
Yeah.
And so what's been interesting about this project is working towards how each side can learn from the other. And what can Voyager pull from what Somax knows and vice versa. And to me, that's the exciting part. We're just getting started. We've been doing this project for about a year, but I feel like there's a long way to go still. And this has already been a very successful, I think, collaboration. I think tonight's concert's going to go well. So far, everything's sounding great. But it still seems early to me, and that there's so much still to work on. So that's exciting.
Yeah, we can say that actually we premiered the system in Boston about 6 months ago at the 50th anniversary of the International Computer Music Conference. At the time, we played with two great saxophone players, Roscoe Mitchell and Steve Lehman. And since then, we continued developing, exchanging ideas. So as Damon said, the interesting part here is also that we are working in a team. So we have two systems, we have two different point of views, different ways of interacting, but we were able to conceive this small group of 4 people playing together, and every time we meet, I always feel like there's so many ideas, there's so many things we talk about that go even beyond music and informatics. And every time I feel like we do a little tiny step, which is actually really like bigger than the tiny step we feel. So I'm really looking forward to hear this version tonight, second gig of Sovo. And I have to say, for me, it's an honor to be in this team. Like ever since I came to Ircam as an improviser and as an electronic musician, I was always intrigued by co-creative systems, like improvising with machines. So when I first started working on Somax with Gerard, it was like a very important step for me. And I've been knowing George's work and Voyager since like I was a student in conservatory like 20 years ago. So it's really important for me being part of this family and working together with you guys.
One thing you might want to look into, I'm talking about the audience now, is that Voyager, this program that's been talked about obliquely, which is something that I first built in 1987, and those are the days, 1984, Rainbow Family. I built these systems totally by myself. There was no team. I did all the programming, I did all the hardware interfaces. So now working with a team, it's like a dramatic, and I'm so happy that Gerard brought me in. It's like he found me away from the street and brought me in. It was very nice. But the other thing you might want to look for as people listening is that this Voyager, it has a personality, it has a point of view. It plays differently with different people. Like you'll hear it at one point, it's going to be playing with Joel, it'll do one thing, and then it adjusts so that when it plays with Mia, it'll play something completely different. And Somax does that also. And even to the extent where some of the things that we thought of as being Somax originally was conceived as kind of a thing where the computer and the and the human would be operating the system or sort of guiding it in some way. But this one, SOMAX is kind of flying without the operator for the most part. So it's like a new voyage where it's like, in a way, not like a maiden voyage, but only the second time. It's like flying solo, like without another co-pilot or whatever. And so that means that it's developing its own personality. So the idea of machine personality, a lot of people are kind of afraid of that. But we've been confronting it for a good 40 years now. So we're kind of used to it. I just call it living with creative machines. So that's what we've been doing for a really long time now.